Ladies and gentlemen, my name is TotalBiscuit. Welcome to Rift. Very small amount of coverage for this particular game, because as I've said before on many occasions, there are other channels that have already done it in quite large detail, including, of course, OMFG Kata and the Yogscast. However, since people asked for it so goddamn much, please shut up. I'll be providing you some coverage today, although I would imagine it will be limited to a couple of videos only. So this is the way that it's going to work. The first video is going to be demonstrating the starting zone, some of the basic mechanics, the user interface and things like that, and the second part will be a discussion with a veteran player who has quite a lot of experience and knowledge as regards to the endgame and the potential longevity and lastability of this particular title. As I said before, I do not expect to play an awful lot of this because this is essentially, but for all intents and purposes, a WoW clone, and I'm not really interested in playing another hotkey MMO right now. However, we will go ahead, we'll have a look at it, and I'll show you the basic elements of it, and we'll see how that goes. I've already rolled up a High Elf Mage. I'm on the Guardian side. Guardians and Defiant are the two factions in this particular game. There isn't really a good or bad. The way that the game's plot is designed, it just doesn't work that way. Whatever the case, though, we're going to kick it off, and I'll show you exactly what's going on with it. So I haven't played this character at all, so we are right at the start, and we'll see exactly how this turns out for us. Oh, a bit of a look over there. An interesting way of phasing in when you get into view distance. It sort of appears out of nowhere. It's not gradual. Whatever the case, graphically this game is fairly impressive, as you can see right here. I'm running it on maximum graphic settings, although anti-aliasing is turned off because it interferes with fraps for some reason. So you may see some jaggies, but you can very easily get rid of those in the actual game itself. You may be noticing that the UI is extremely similar to World of Warcraft, and it really, really is. You see there, you've got the minimap in the top right, you've got your unit frame in the top left, you've got your chat, including combat, down at the bottom, and you can also add another one. So if we do this, then we can add another tab, and I assume that you can configure this. Yes, you can. That looks very, 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 very similar to World of Warcraft. You've got your little mini menu down there, your micro menu. You've also got your action bar, which makes perfect sense. It looks exactly like... I wouldn't even say that that was a WoW clone. That's a EverQuest clone. Yeah, that's been a standard for ages, so I'd hardly begrudge them for that. I've also got my bags in the side there, a collector's edition satchel with 24 slots to start us off, and all that good stuff. Okay. Now, racially, I have a single racial ability. The racials in this game are not particularly diverse. I didn't show you the character creation, but while you do have a lot of choice in terms of what your character looks like, the actual racial choices are extremely limited. There are 3 races on either side, on the Defiant and the Guardians. The Guardians get dwarves, they get elves, and they also get humans, and the Defiant get humans, elves, a different kind of elf, I think, and some kind of giant thing. So again, not a lot of diversity there, if I'm totally honest, but as I said before, there's a lot of character customization. You can do an awful lot with your character, so I can kind of forgive them for that. The single racial ability I've got is called Angelic Flight. It will allow me to fly towards the selected area. It cannot be used in combat, so it's not exactly all that great, but it will allow me, if I wish, to do something like that. And that's pretty much it. That's all you have in terms of racials. Okay, without further ado, we might as well get on and do some actual combat and explore a little bit of the world. Messenger of the Vigil.
Meant to be here.
Was I? I'm not entirely convinced by that. Now, one of the things that is a rather large difference is the amount of classes there are available. You've kind of got a mixable class system. The talents and things like that, they don't work the way that you would expect them to, so... Right, I am, in fact, alive. Right, so I can speak to the Sanctuary Warden. I absorb a Ancient Soul, and this will allow me to gain access to pretty much all of this stuff. So I believe there are 8 classes within each of the 4 archetypes, if I remember correctly. So that's quite a lot. But bear in mind that the classes, I believe, are also incorporating talents. So we'll see just how much customizability there is there. Okay, so I have my first quest. Very, very cool indeed. I am going over here, by the looks of it, to the Sanctuary Warden. I know exactly where he was, because I had absolutely no intention of reading the quest text, because I'm just mean like that. Bear in mind, there are also a lot of lore books lying around, which is kind of neat, and I believe you also keep copies of these. So if you so desire, you can read all about the lore of this particular game. Excelente. We'll be heading over to the quest point in just a moment, I think. In the meantime, I just want to have a look at this guy. Don't exactly know what he's doing. What you up to, bro? You are a very large individual. Horrible, horrible things are going on out there, by the looks of it. Not good. Not good at all. We shall see. Okay, another law book there. I really don't think we care about more of these law books for the time being. So, might want to read the quest interface because I was not paying any attention to it. Yes, near the portal in the Sanctuary of Rebirth. That helps precisely none at all. One assumes that he's downstairs. There we go. I do like the graphics of this game, although they do remind me an awful lot of EverQuest 2, just with a little bit of modern polish. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but I am not entirely convinced by these more realistic approaches to the way that the graphics of MMOs are set up. Not entirely convinced. Don't know what that is, but hey. Right. Sanctuary Warden, what do you have for me?
I'm but a messenger.
Right, okay. So, we can choose one of these things. 8 potential archetypes. Bear in mind, you can also pair it with other archetypes. So, Archon, support specialist, right? Dominator, support specialist that, yeah, that's to scare people about a bit by the looks of it. Elementalist, always nice. Pyromancer, yeah, I think we're going to have to go with a fire mage, let's be honest. Chloromancer, that's a healing specialist. Stormcaller, so that's a lightning dude. Necromancer, raising of the dead, a little bit of warlock going on right there. I'm thinking we maybe, just maybe, go with Pyromancer for the time being because, you know, I have an obsession with fire mages. A little bit of a pyromaniac. The interface I am seeing is particularly slick, which is good because World of Warcraft had that similar aspect on launch that, you know, the quest acceptance and the noises and everything and the feedback that you got from the game was very slick and very cool. Okay. Let's see. Speak with Fane Doran outside the sanctuary to begin your holy crusade. So,
You stand between Talara and destruction.
excellent. I have a soul. I wasn't aware of this. The soul has given me abilities. I have flame bolts and fireball. These sort of things one assumes do the same thing. Flame bolt has an 8-second cast. Good lord. Or was that a cooldown? No, it's a cooldown. It's an instant cast. Right. I see. Makes sense. So that's Fire Blast, basically. Right. No problem. Onward. For great justice and so forth. He's looking a little bit depressed, isn't he? I will endeavor not to. Although I cannot... do I really have a halo? Looks like I kind of do, don't I? Alright, fair enough. Right. All the way over there. There's no point in doing that at all, but hey, it's a little bit of fun. Yes. I don't believe you have any eyes left, although you look like you do, but whatever. Time to kill stuff. Kill 6 Ashen Defilers. Yes, I'm feeling the originality as we go on. Lord.
May you live 1,000 years.
Well, I don't think I'll be in that game that long, but whatever the case. Right, let's have a look at the map. Yes, something is around here somewhere. Kill 6 Ashen Defilers. Right. Are they sort of, like, around this area? Yes, they are. There we go. Yeah, have this fire. Alright. Yes, I am well aware of how to use a basic interface like that. You know, popping that up while I'm in combat, probably not all that wise. So hitting them with my stick seems like a terrible idea, as you might expect. Okay, cast fireball. Cool. Cast another fireball. Cool, you're dead. Oh, sup. Well, they're kind of boned, so see ya. You know take candle, ladies and gentlemen. Unless you're me, in which case you will. There's nothing you can do to stop me. Now, I should obviously be opening up with a fireball and then going into the instant cast, but hey, whatever. What I do like, from what I can tell right now, is that World of Warcraft has this very tight hotkey-based combat system. And in order for any game to compete with that in any way, it's got to at least equal it. Now, that's the kind of feeling I'm getting right now, whereas with Warhammer Online, when I played that, I didn't. You know, it feels so much like WoW, it's instantly familiar. That's actually a bad thing, in my opinion. I don't want a game like World of Warcraft. I don't at all. You know, I have World of Warcraft. Why would I want something that's like it? but they are blatantly looking to try and take some of World of Warcraft's market share. I say that simply based on their advertising campaign. You're not in Azeroth anymore. Yeah, it's so obvious what they want to do. It's not necessarily a bad thing, it's just that I've played WoW for so long, I'm so sick of hotkey-based MMOs, that, you know, why would I find this interesting? And I don't. Thus far, I really, really don't. But I have to applaud them, because they've made a WoW clone that, by the looks of it, at least the feel of it initially, is it feels just as good as World of Warcraft. And that, for some people, is going to be very important. At least those of you who are perhaps thinking about leaving WoW for a while and going with Rift, which is, of course, totally valid choice. Yeah. Okay, leveled up. You have leveled up. You have got experience, blah-de-blah. In addition, you get a soul point, which will unlock new traits and abilities in the soul tree. Right, talents. Okay, let's have a look, shall we? Right, okay, these are your Pyromancer. Huh. It's kind of weird, isn't it? That's all this nonsense. Right, so these are abilities, so... okay, I see. So you see all your abilities first, so you get Flame Jet. Can I unlock this? No, not by the looks of it, not right now. I don't think I'm level 2 or whatever, but... Let me look at that. Ignition! I remember that. Huh. I remember all of these things. These are really, really similar to WoW, aren't they? Good lord. What's the one at the top? It sets the cooldowns. Oh, right, so it's... Oh god, what is it? Cold Snap for fire. Right, but it also gives you a global cooldown reduction. Okay. What else we got? Improved Flame Bolt. Oh, seriously? Come on! Really? Good lord. Okay. Automatically unlocks new abilities. Right, cool. No problem. Those are your branches going off all over the place. This... Yeah. So, when you... go into a particular type, it looks like, you know, that'll be the second one that I go with, the second soul. You can take from what is effectively a World of Warcraft talent tree, but you can mix in another one, so you can customize your class like that, which I like, you know, that's good. Okay. Well, all of this is going to be amazing, isn't it? I'll probably just go with improved Fireball to begin with. Looks like I have another point, okay. 2 in improved Fireball, and when you spend those 2 points, that then unlocks that ability. Cool. Alright, will it put it on my bar automatically? Yes, it will. Okay. A new reward. Instant spell power. Collect 4 imbued swords. Lots of originality going on here in terms of questing, isn't there?
Good to see you.
Kill 6 other stuff, but that will give me my second set. Very cool. Right, do I really, really want to kill these guys? Do I care? Probably not. They're not part of my quest objectives, I do not believe. I don't know where the imbued swords are. Looks like they're through there. Okay, and these guys won't even aggro you, so they're not all that much of a bunch of defilers, are they? Well, you know, it just can't be bothered. Right. Corrupted Knights, these need to be splattered, do they not? Flame Jet, is that a cone? Yes, it is. There we go. Can't say I'm all that impressed by the spell effects. I mean, animation-wise, animation quality is good, from what I can tell. Texture quality, also good. Spell effects, lame. It's like, oh, a Flame Jet. Let's have a look at it. That is such a bad Flame Jet. Bear in mind, I have particle effects on absolute maximum. So, that to me is a little awful, if I'm totally honest with you there. Ooh, a Flame Jet. Like, tiny little flame spurt. It's just... It's not enthusing, is it? I like to see big pyrotechnic effects. I like to feel that my attacks are doing something. It's something the DC Universe does really well. This game is not doing that thus far. Not so great. Okay, let's get our last imbued sword, shall we? Cassie. No voice acting here either, which... I don't know, a modern MMO that doesn't have a lot of voice acting does to me seem like a cop-out, because that really seems like the thing you should be focusing on in terms of my immersion and all that nonsense. It's important, you know, it really is. It is important to be immersed in a game, and my god, these things actually hit rather hard, don't they? Okay, did that miss? Oh god, he resisted, there you go. Wow, okay. Alright. So... I've actually been speaking to people about this game, and one of the things that I do really like is the fact that this game is quite hard. As in, even basic mobs can kill you if you don't pay attention. That, to me, is good. That is a very positive thing to have within your game. It is something that a lot of games are not doing. World of Warcraft certainly is not within its lower-level questing content, and MMOs should be teaching you about dying. Dying should be a fairly common occurrence if you don't do it properly. And, you know, I was screwing around there. I wasn't even doing anything, so it is my fault that I died. I'm okay with this. This is a good thing. Okay, let's kill a few more of those, get a little bit of distance. Get him with the second one before he gets in range. Ah, yes, the old World of Warcraft tracking spells system. Always good. Oh, he's behind line of sight. Nobody cares. Right, covered in flames. There we go. Nice little bit of crit. Stained rags and a candle stub. Classy. We need one more corrupted knight. There we go. He is over there. Okay, we can force him to come around here. I don't have any mana. Not so good. Can I drink in combat? No. No, I cannot. Do I have a mana potion? Oh, no, I do not. Okay, it looks like I'm meleeing then. Hit him with the stick. Why you not hit him with stick? Come on. Come on. Stab him. Hit him. Something. Why are you doing nothing? Oh, whatever. There we go. Got my mana back. For a corrupted knight, he sounds like a little bit of a wuss, doesn't he? Alright, as the sad music plays on in the background, let's go and hand this generic quest in. All the way up here, I believe, wasn't it? We were back here, right? Yeah, that's where it is. Oh, he's speaking to different guys. Is it actually just taking us down there? Oh, okay, right. So it's one of those. Fair enough. Hoof it all the way over there, then. In the meantime, I should probably take a drink. Also, these big purple fireballs are really not helping matters. Nobody ever said the weather would be like this in the plains of Talaria. Onward. Most important thing, by the way, does it have slash dance? It does, of course. Can't be a good WoW clone without a bit of slash dance. Swaying to the groove and the tragedy that goes on. Yeah, he's a little bit of a sicko, what can I say? God, my angelic flight is a bit rubbish, isn't it? I can fly! I can... No, I really can't. It's like one of those Pixar movies, really. Like, oh, I want to be a real bird. Well, you're not going to be able to do that, are you? Ardenburg. Welcome to Ardenburg. Ardenburg horrors. Killing everything in the world. I don't want to be anywhere near those for the time being. But let me guess, I will get a quest to kill them in the not-too-distant future. Wonderful. Okay. Well, you are very depressed, are you not? I will have this Ascension Great Staff. How to equip gear? Let me guess. I cannot imagine. Okay. Kill more dudes?
We will redeem Talara.
You'll try. There we go. I have a staff that looks even worse than my starter staff. Excellent. I don't know if there's... Oh, hello. Anyway, I don't know if there are any...
Of the vigil.
What's the term I'm looking for? Ah, yes, appearance locking options, but it's not looking all that likely right now. Can I lock my appearance? Maybe, but I can't see it from here. Okay, so we're choosing another one, folks. You know, I might go with Warlock just because it seems... You know, I'm well aware, or Necromancer, but I know it should be paired with something that makes sense, but I don't feel like it. I want to do something else. Let's do Necromancer, why not? Let's mix it up. You can attune to up to 3 souls at a time, folks. So you gain 3 entire talent trees that you can go from. Just like World of Warcraft. Right. Retrieve Sanctified Spheres from Ardenburg Horrors. Okay. Kill the quest. Kill the quest.
To the gods.
Well, you can, but personally I can't be bothered. Right, what have we got? Necromancer. Do I have any points? I do. Right. Death's Ally. Pet. Pet, cool. Plague Bolt. Alright. Well, I'm not so keen about the Plague Bolt. What I do want is the Skeletal Horror. It would be nice to have a pet, but also be a mage. Sounds like a plan. So, what we're going to do... Oh, that's kind of rubbish, isn't it? Do I even want to invest points in that? Probably not. Oh, 2% extra damage. Pfft, care. Let's get some more on Fireball. Yeah, that's the kind of thing that I really care. About. There we go. Alright, can't spend any more souls, so it's forcing me to spec a little bit into this. Okay. Do I want to use Plague Bolt? Yeah, why not? We'll throw it into the rotation somewhere. I'm sure I can find it. Right, so let's have a look. Skeletal Horror. Summon this thing. There we go. Do a little bit of dance and making a little bit of love. There we go. Sup, Skeletal Horror. What you up to? He is not that happy to see me. There we go. Exactly like a World of Warcraft pet. Are you noticing a common theme here? Do I care about this lore? Might as well grab it anyway. Right. An Ardenburg Horror. Attack my minions! Well, it'll attack what's back with it. We'll open up with a Plague Bolt, shall we? There we go. We got a little bit of fire going on right here. A little bit of flame. Again, ooh, stuff. Okay, that's chain. I can't use it, never mind, but we'll grab one of those sanctified spheres nonetheless. So, how much damage does Plague Bolt actually do? Not as much as Fireball. It applies a stack of Deathly Calling, but I don't really care. I don't think it does enough damage, really, to justify using it in the rotation. But I have a pet, so it's not bad. Okay. Destroy one of these Morbid Infusers. It is a lot more grim dark than World of Warcraft, and I think it has to be praised for that. Because it is nice to get immersed in a world where everything is going to hell, and indeed, it seems like Rift is exactly that. There is some humor in it, but there's not a huge amount. Cool. I'm alright with that. I've got to say that World of Warcraft has got really goofy lately, and maybe people are looking for something a little bit more serious, so Rift might not be the worst choice in that regard. There we go. Get a little bit of barbecue on. Right, so that's an autocast. That's a Jagged Wound. What is there anything else that's not an autocast? Not by the looks of it. So everything can autocast. I don't even need to worry. I'm alright with that. Nothing wrong. Turn off this last Morbid Infuser. Not a very nice thing to do, is it? There we go. I'm glad that he's feeling okay. I'd probably be a little bit pissed after all that. More of these horrors. I like a lot of the character models in this, in terms of the enemies you go up against. You know, this is a neat-looking enemy. I like that. It does look kind of Cthulhu-ish, a little bit grim, a little bit dark. Are you noticing a common theme here? Ooh, awesome. I have a new robe. I am feeling good about myself. Get new loot. Get new stuff. There we go. I still look like an absolute pansy, but then again, I did pick an elf, so it is to be expected. I only picked the elf because I thought it had the best racial. Ah. Right, I need more of these bloody Ardenburg Horrors. Where are they? There weren't a huge amount around there to begin with. Now, what I'll also say is a lot of these servers right now do have queues, but I'm on a server that doesn't, and I think... I don't know, after tomorrow, things are probably going to get a little bit crazy, because that's when it actually launches for those who didn't pre-order. So, be very careful about the server you go onto, because they seem to be filling up very rapidly, and when I had my friends around for the weekend, some of them were playing Rift on the LAN, and they were queuing for upwards of 45 minutes. Now, I'd imagine that some of that will sort itself out, and they are bringing up new servers all the time, which is good. Oh, it's a good thing. But... just bear in mind that you may be subject to queuing, and you should watch out and be very cautious as to which server you actually go on to. There are PvP servers, there are RP servers as well, so if you're looking to do a little bit of role-playing, as to how you really role-play in a world like this that nobody knows all that much about, I don't know, but hey, it might be interesting to learn about nonetheless. And there are a lot of lore books around, so I'm certainly not going to criticize them for that. It's very good that they're doing it. It is just such a WoW clone, though, really, isn't it? It really, really is. Now, the main mechanic that I know about in this game is the Rifts mechanic, and the Rifts mechanic has invasions all over the place. And these can happen pretty much any time, and you have to sort of fight them off, otherwise they will spread and bad things will happen. It's basically like the elemental and the zombie invasions in World of Warcraft, only on a much larger scale, in a way that actually affects the world, and the lack of dynamic change within World of Warcraft has been a major complaint of mine for a while. And of course, they've done a little bit about that with the phasing system. Only in this case, they're sort of taking the idea of maybe the daily... not so much the daily quest, but the public questing from Warhammer Online and mixing it in with this live invasion mechanic that could potentially be very interesting. And it will interrupt questing, it will interrupt all sorts of things, and it is one of the primary focuses of the games. And going into the rifts will also provide you instances and raiding content, and there is supposedly quite a lot of that. We'll be talking about that in greater detail in the next segment of this, where I speak to one of the veteran players on this particular matter. Right. Okay. I will have this lesser mana potion. Thank you very much.
Do not give in to hate.
Hello. Well, they've got the eye candy in this game, no question about that. That reminds me of the old EverQuest bird. You remember who that one was. Alright, looks like we're going to be doing a little bit of praying. Fair enough. And I get Vestments of the Savior, which are only slightly better than what I have. Okay, we're good with that. Okay, so I'm going to stop talking right here, and this is going to continue to run in the background. And we'll be having a little bit of a discussion with Fear the Flames, aka Dave, one of my friends, and also a very experienced Rift player. He can tell you an awful lot about the Rift mechanics and things like that, and hopefully give you a more balanced perspective on this so far. But what I will sign off with and conclude on the fact that this game is so blatantly a World of Warcraft clone, it doesn't even try and hide it. And I don't necessarily believe that's a bad thing, because World of Warcraft took an awful lot of elements from different games as well. It looks polished, it feels polished, and I think that's something that's so missing from a lot of different games. Things that I've already played, stuff like Warhammer Online had that as a real, genuine problem, as it was just not good. It did not feel polished. It did not feel like it was running in the way that it should be. This game does. It's a blatant clone, but if that's what you're looking for, you could certainly do an awful lot worse by the looks of it. Okay. I will be talking now to Dave, aka Fear the Flames, and this will continue to run in the background. So I will see you in just a short moment. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to part 2 of my Rift presentation. So in this part, I am bringing on a veteran player of the game who played through the beta. He knows quite a lot about the game. We're going to be talking about some of the more advanced concepts and going back and forth on that. He might claim he's shot me in the head more times than I've shot him over the many years that we've actually been gaming together. I really don't know which is the case, but whatever the case, I would like to welcome to the show Fear the Flames, aka Dave. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Howdy, howdy. Thank you very much. And I'd say you've shot me more. I really would.
It's a possibility. I think I've got the edge on you in terms of FPS, although I've lost enough at Dota and League of Legends to give you the edge on that one. So, whatever the case, we're going to be talking a little bit about Rift, and what exactly is your history with Rift? I mean, how long have you been playing, really? Did you start with the beta all the way back at the very start of it in the closed?
Ooh, good question. I started way back when, before they started doing the live open beta, in air quotes. It was back in closed. It wasn't right at the start though. It was a little bit after that. I managed to snag myself a VIP key, and I've been enjoying it ever since. It's really worth it.
Cool, yeah, and you're also playing on the Head Start servers at the moment, just before the launch, which is coming up tomorrow, if I recall correctly, for everyone that didn't pre-order.
Indeed. For EU, it comes up tomorrow. It's at 6 AM PST, I believe it is, which would equate to about 3 PM UK time, around
yeah, that
there.
would be, yeah. Pretty much. I think it's 2. It would be 3 PM Central European. So, the reason I've got you on here is to talk about some of the more advanced concepts. In part 1, we had a run through the starting area, and the conclusion that I came to after seeing some of that content, and we're also seeing content running in the background, I did an additional about 40 minutes of play afterwards, so that you can just see something on the screen while we talk about various different concepts. And my conclusion was that it is a blatant WoW clone, but it does seem to be a good one. Everything that I saw of it seems quite tight. The casting, for instance, and the actual combat mechanics, they seem as tight as World of Warcraft, which is good. Good animation quality, obviously the graphics quality particularly good as well. Quite a lot of customization in terms of things like that, but pretty much a whole cloth World of Warcraft clone, at least at the low levels. So to start with, why don't you tell me a little bit about what's actually different in terms of the game versus World of Warcraft?
At low end or at high end? I mean, the low end...
let's go for high end, because I think we're talking really about why would anybody switch to Rift, and why would anyone play it for longer than a month?
Okay. Well, the end game for Rift really comes down to a few different things. I mean, straight off, already in your lobby areas, you should have been seeing the little glowy things on the ground, the artifacts that you can collect. And they're kinda like archaeology in WoW, except they're not boring. They're random spawns that appear. You don't need to really hunt them out unless you want to. You could be randomly questing and you'll stumble across these things. For each set that you get, you'll get a coin. The coins can then be turned in for things like the vanity pets, mounts, helms that you can wear, all these kind of different things, and they really give you the ability to build on these items and your character. It's all in your character sheet. And so one of the things about this for the lore fans and stuff is that some of the things you collect are books or pages from them, and you can then, once you've handed these in, you'll get a book which you can add to your collection. But for the actual real like meat and potatoes of the end game, you've got the PvP ranks, which I would not really want to say are like the ones in Warhammer Online, but they are really.
Right, yeah.
You've got the PvP ranks that unlock when you're at level 50. So you ding 50, your XP bar changes to a PvP rank bar. Now, you can be PvPing before this, as I'm guessing you know, but you've not. I'm guessing you won't have stepped into PvP, because otherwise you would have raged.
Yeah, I rolled on a PvE anyway, so I didn't really care.
Yeah, I thought as much. But you can unlock the PvP soul fairly early on in your PvP adventures. It's unlocked with 2,500 favor. And this then gives you specific abilities that are tied to PvP, such as damage to players and these kind of things. This is the first stepping stone that you get. After this, when you hit 50, you unlock the PvP tree. Well, you unlock its full potential. You unlock it when you get the soul, obviously, but it's very limited. It's completely locked down in terms of you can only put points in the first tier of abilities. To put them into the higher tiers of abilities, you need to unlock the ranks in the PvP tree. There are 6 in total. So if you want to use the top tier abilities, which are things like reducing the damage you take, or being able to vanish, for the rogue is one of them, then you would need PvP rank 6. Of course, by unlocking...
Okay, well...
Sorry, go on.
That seems a little bit imbalanced, if I'm totally honest. I mean, so you're talking about, say, a rank 6 PvPer could ruffle Stomper rank 1 and it'll have absolutely nothing to do with skill?
Well, yes to some extent, but no to some extent. Of course, it's, flip a coin situation. They're going to have more cooldowns and more abilities to their advantage and for them to use in their little bank of tricks. But it's not going to be the deciding factor of who wins and who loses in PvP. They get more gear available to them, and they get these more abilities available to them. But at the same time, the PvP in Rift does come down to skill. Interrupts really do matter. It can make or break something. And you can get, rank 6 by just grinding it out. It's not about wins. It's about... It's an XP bar, basically, but for PvP. Right. So you don't lose anything like in WoW.
That sounds reasonable. When you're talking about the PvP soul there, I noticed very early on it was telling me that I could equip up to 3 souls at any given time. Does that mean that I have to throw away one of them in order to equip the PvP soul?
Yes, but unlike WoW, you don't have a dual spec system, you have a quad spec system. So out of all of these nice wonderful souls that you've got, which are 9 in total, including the PvP soul for each class, you've got 4 specs that you can then mess around with. So you could have a tank spec, a PvE spec for DPS solo, a PvE raid spec, and a PvP spec. And you can mix and match from your 9 souls of which ones of these you want.
Right, how long does it take to acquire all 9 souls? Because I noticed I got 3 in the starting zone.
You get 3 in the starting, and then you head off to the main city, which would be Meridian if you're Defiant. And their quests, basically you pick it up from an NPC, you then head out, you do a rift, you get an item from the rift, you then kill an NPC that spawns, and take it back to the guy. It's literally just a case of one quest, and you have your new soul.
Okay, fair enough. And it's easy to swap in and out of those, you don't have to pay anything or anything?
If you've got points in one, you have to, go and unspec. But if you've not got points in the soul, you can actually swap them on the fly if you've not got points in the soul. So if you're out leveling and you've got points in 2 souls and the third one has no points in, you can switch that soul and gain the very basic abilities from any of the other ones. So if you needed a quick tank...
Healing, for instance.
Yeah, if you needed a little bit of extra healing, you could do that, depending on which class you roll as. But say, for example, if you're a rogue and you're out questing, and you find an elite mob that's a bit harder than, something you can manage on your own, you could switch to, say, the marksman tree, and, pop it off from range, or switch to the ranger tree, and you could grab a pet and have it tank for you. It wouldn't be a very good pet, because you wouldn't be, deep into the tree, but it would have enough that it would give you the edge.
Yeah. So you were talking a little bit about rifts there, and obviously that's the namesake of this particular game, so it's the main mechanic within it. Now, firstly, I want to ask you about rifts in terms of the end game, because that's kind of the topic we were on. So we'll talk about rifts in the end game, and then we'll go on to how rifts actually work in a leveling capacity and how they're going to affect newer players. So why don't you kick us off and tell us a little bit about how much content there actually is there?
Well, Rift is actually at endgame in terms of PV and in terms of the rifts and the raids and stuff. They've actually got more content than any other MMOs had at release for endgame in terms of PvE content. The Rift system that they're using throughout the low levels is basically amplified at endgame. You've got your 20-man raids, but we'll get into those in a bit. The 10-man rifts that you can do are raid rifts. They're basically bigger, meatier versions of the rifts that you do at the low levels. 10 players lure one into the world, it opens, and you do it with your 10 guys. However, more than 10 can take part in the rift. They will still get planerite, the item that you get from looting the rift, so they still get some currency and they still get some gold and stuff, but only the original guys that opened it and were part of the original raid can get the good loot from it. So you could have...
Well, that sounds like you can massively overpower a rift simply by throwing cannon fodder at it.
Because they scale as well. They've really done it very well. They scale depending on how many people are there. So if you have 40 players there, it will be a lot more of a challenge than if you have 10 players there. It's really going to kind of stop people from just going, okay, let's go do this 10-man rift. Let's just get with our 80 members. Because if you turn up with 80 members, your tank is liable to get one shot. It's kind of counterproductive to turn up with too many. So you can take, if you've got a few extra guys on the line, so you don't need to keep them sitting out. They can come along. They may not get, the items that the main raiders are going to get, but they still get to take part.
They're still basically going to get badges and gold.
Yeah, they still get items that are going to aid them and help them to progress. They're not sitting out doing nothing while the other guys are having all the fun.
It's very reasonable. I mean, I'll be honest, I have my doubts about the scaling system. Because I have a feeling that it's not going to be entirely balanced, and there's going to be some encounters that people are going to find that sweet spot that it's like, 13 guys is the sweet spot for this fight. It's where we can exploit the mechanics the most to get the easiest time out of it. But I do appreciate what they're trying to do.
Their heart's in the right place, but I'm not sure about the scaling system either. I mean, it could go really well, or it could go horribly. The other thing to take into account is also on PvP servers. One of the things that I didn't get much experience with at the endgame and betas was these raid rifts. So the potential for, say, if you're Defiance, to turn up with 10 of your guys and cause a Guardian rift to scale and cause them more problems while you're ganking them. I'm not sure if that's a possibility, because that's going to cause issues. And I'm guessing that they're pretty much down on keeping their community happy at the moment. So I'm hoping, and I've got my fingers crossed, that it's going to work out well. But the scaling system is really kind of one of those things that you have to wait and see at the moment.
Yeah, exactly, because not enough people really did the content to judge that. And when it comes to the rift, so you can jump into the rift and then nobody else can come in. It's not like one of those PvP dungeons in Warhammer, is it?
The rifts are out and about, some of them, as far as I'm aware. The raid ones, that is. I mean, they're
Yeah.
not really you lure one out, you disappear. It's a case of you're there, people can come and help, people can come along, but it's not really a case of, you know, you disappear out from the world for 4 hours, go and kill some bosses, appear back in the world, and you've got all your stuff. You do in the 20-mans, but the raid drifts are out and about, you know. You'll see one as you're
Okay.
running around leveling and just go, ooh, I really want to go kill that, but I can't just yet. I really want more of my guys to level.
Yeah. Fair enough. So these things pretty much appear randomly.
Yes, but you can get
Okay.
items that you can use to then pull them into the world. So you
Ah,
can go
right.
do one, or, you know, one might just pop up. It's really a case of they're on the fly content. They're not really going to lock you out. There isn't a case of you can only do a certain amount of them a week. There is no raid IDs
Yeah.
for raid drifts, only for the instance.
Okay, so this is kind of designed more around pug content. If you're talking about on the fly here, you could just jump in with a bunch of pugs and you'd be okay.
Yes, but again, it comes down to, you know, some of these bosses, they have tactics. They're not just a case of you can zerg them down with a pug. If you go in there with a pug, you need to know what you're doing, even in the raid drifts, because if they can't
Right.
understand simple mechanics like don't stand in the fire, don't run through the flame wreath kind of thing, then you're going to die. You're going to die horribly.
Okay, sounds fairly reasonable. So, let's talk a little bit about rifts in the context of leveling up. So, I've heard things like a rift could potentially open and start taking over a leveling area, and you have to abandon what you're doing in order to fight it. How true is that? How much is it going to affect people when it comes to doing leveling content?
It depends how much they suck. Honestly and truly, it depends how much they suck. The Defiance on our server, on Blood Iron, we've basically stopped all invasions that have happened so far, and we've had the occasional outpost be taken over. But apparently on Guardian's side, it's a much different story, and invasions fail all the time. How it works is, if they fail, then if an invasion gets to, you know, the outpost it's going for, destroys the guardstone there, then they'll take it over, and they'll spawn their own little group of mobs, and the NPCs that are there will fight them and die. So if you res at a graveyard at one of these places, forget about it. The healer isn't going to be there. You're not going to be able
Yeah.
to heal if you get soul sickness. You're not going to be able to hand in your quests because the NPCs will be dead. So it's going to take you time out of your leveling schedule to do these things. However, to actually stop the invasions from happening is beneficial to you. They do give XP, they give nice rewards, they give rewards that you can only get from the invasions. You know, they really do have an advantage to doing them. So you can ignore them, but it's going to make your life tricky. They really have put an emphasis on story and actually paying attention to the world around you, rather than just, I'm going to tunnel vision, I'm going to do my quests, I'm getting out of this area.
Fair enough. I mean, I've got concerns, honestly, that I like the idea of the Rift invasion mechanics, and I like the fact that the world's a little bit dynamic. It's something that I've always criticized WoW for, and I think I'm entirely justified in doing so. The fact that the world is not dynamic, it's only just started kind of becoming that way with phasing, but even then, we're talking about something that everybody can see. We're talking about the possibility of, let's just say, Astronar being wiped off the map and being occupied by the Horde, but then, you know, in a position where it can be taken back. And we've only really seen that once with Halar in the Burning Crusade. Now, as opposed to a lesser degree, you could talk a little bit about Tolbarad and Wintergrasp and things like that. But my concern with these Rift invasions is that they will get kind of boring, because, I mean, surely they're just grinding mobs until the Rift disappears, right?
Well, for the invasions, there are different flavors depending on which area you're in. So, say for example, the first area, Freemarch, that your video's in. The invasion types that are there are death and water, and there are 2 for each. So there's 2 different death ones and 2 different water ones that can happen. Now, they require you to do different things, and they're timed, and it's really kind of, if you've got a lot of people on, they'll happen more often, which is kind of a pain if you're, you know, in the zone and trying to level. But the XP that they give is fantastic. The amount of money that they give isn't on par with handing in quest rewards, but they give items that you can only get from those. The problem being that they are counterproductive and they do get boring if you're doing nothing but those. But the content is available to you in Free March, for example, even at level 1. At level 1 you could have gone and taken part in a level 20 invasion that randomly happens. You may not be able to kill it, but you know, you'll be able to take part in it, and you'll be able to hack at it. But the level 20s around you will be able to kill it. You'll still get contribution for that. You'll still get items for that. You'll still get XP for that. So you're still, you know, being useful. But after a while, you may think it's getting boring, but the invasions head to different places. There are different groups of invasions. There are different rifts that can open. And that's just for each type. So if you think that, you know, there's all the different planes that they open, death, life, fire, water, earth, and each one of these has different rifts for each area, then it's varied enough that you're going to eventually run into the same ones, but that's going to be at the end of the zone.
Okay. Sounds fairly reasonable. So, we'll talk about a few other things. So we've mentioned PvP, we've mentioned the rift mechanics, which is obviously the most important thing. It's the defining characteristic of this particular title. But what about other stuff? I mean, we're talking about the way that, say, crafting works. You know, I'm kind of interested to know about that. What do you know about crafting?
Crafting system actually received a lot of flack from the people that I know. They screamed and hollered that it was so similar to WoW's in terms of the item names and the mechanics of it and everything, that they were just basically like, you've taken the WoW crafting system, even down to the base mechanics and
it doesn't really surprise me. I mean, the stuff that I saw, even in the talents, so I could tell you what most of the Fire Mage talents were, because they're the Fire Mage talents from WoW. They're the same frickin' thing. So it doesn't surprise me that they took that, but it's also really, really disappointing, because WoW's crafting system is bad. I mean, you've complained about it enough, you know, and so have I. It's garbage.
Yeah, the WoW crafting system is basically, to me it feels like it's a dummies book of crafting, you know.
It's a production line. You know, that's what it is. You're mass-producing these clone items over and over again with literally no effort or skill required in any way.
Yeah, the crafting system in Rift does a few things that WoW's doesn't in terms of what it should do. Basically, they've listened to the player base and they've given them what they wanted. Even the WoW player base, they've given them what they wanted from the WoW crafting system in Rift, which is every profession has dailies straight off, and that's, you know, that's something that people have hollered about, and they all use the same token system, which is fantastic. So if you're leveling rune crafting and outfitting, you'll get the same tokens from them, so you can buy recipes in outfitting rather than rune crafting.
Right, okay.
That system is
sounds fairly reasonable.
That system is fantastic and should have been there in WoW's. I mean, WoW has the dual crafting dailies, which, you know, other professions have been clamoring for, but still don't have. But the thing in Rift that makes it slightly different is that you can actually augment items. So if you're making a sword and you want it to be a little bit more tanky, you can actually include an item in its production that will add more endurance onto it. If you want a weapon that's more roguey, you could add dex onto it, or strength onto it, or, you know, all these different things, or wisdom if you're feeling stupid.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, it just seems to me like that's the kind of thing that I would have liked in WoW, and I think that actually makes crafting. You're making choices in terms of what you want to make. Although with reforging, now it just seems like they're doing reforging in reverse. You know, this is forging. It's not reforging. You know, you're modifying the item before it comes into being rather than afterwards, like in WoW.
Yeah, but you've basically said exactly what they want you to say, which is that was something you wanted. And that's why they've done it. Because
that's true.
They've done this because people wanted it. And WoW didn't do it, so they have. They've gone, okay, you guys want the ability to do these things? Bam. There it is. Our crafting system is similar to WoW's. You know how to use it. You know how to get to grips with it straight away. But we've given you these extra features that they don't have. And that's...
It's pretty much the marketing tactic of this game, isn't it? let's be honest. It's how many players can we take away from WoW by offering a sort of grimmer and shinier experience, which is what it is. And we can exploit the fact that people are a bit disillusioned with the way WoW's going right now.
Well, they've actually done it really well, though, in terms of their timing and how much they've kept similar, but how much they've made different. I've been a WoW player since US release, and I've stopped recently because of Rift. It's a case of WoW is repetitive and boring, and it's more of the same, even with the new content that's coming out. It's just more of the same. Rift is similar enough that everyone that's played WoW can get to grips with it. The crafting system, for example, and, you know, your skills. You know kind of what they do by, as you were saying, with the mage tree, by, you know, what they are in WoW. But they've got enough differences at the same time that it has that new and fresh feeling, which is perfect. They're not trying to kill WoW, and they're not trying to, you know, stand up and go, we're bigger than WoW. They're not doing any of that. They've simply just gone, okay, we want a player base, we're giving players what they want. Players in WoW want this, okay, then we'll give them this. Players in Lord of the Rings Online wanted this, okay, we'll give them this. Players in Rift want
Which, to be
this.
fair, that's the same thing Blizzard did, wasn't it, when you think about it? WoW is the elements of previous MMOs made better, which is why it was so popular at the time and why it continues to be so popular. It would kind of make sense that another game would do exactly the same thing, because it worked for WoW.
Yeah, it's basically building on the really basic principles of people like stuff that's similar but different. They like that whole new and improved thing, you know, improving on something that you already have while making something new at the same time. WoW
Yeah,
did
they
it.
like incremental improvements as opposed to complete and total revolutions in the concept.
Yeah, if you change something completely, people will kick up a fuss. Because
Yeah, that's true.
they won't like it. You know, there are people that say change is a bad thing. There are people that say change is a good thing. They're both wrong. Change is an incremental thing. As long as you do it right, and as long as you do it bit by bit, they can, you know, they can start off how they are, and they could eventually completely change away from everything that WoW currently is. But as long as they do it step by step, then that's where the key lies. They need it to be similar enough that they can draw in those that are used to it, but unique enough to draw them in.
Fair enough. In the starting area, I've got to say, though, that the questing content from what I've seen thus far is vanilla level, maybe TBC level. You know, there's a couple of like Magic 1 quests, as I like to call them, in there where you use item to do something you couldn't otherwise do. But it's pretty much, the questing is on the level of Burning Crusade, and it's certainly not on the level of Cataclysm, which is far superior as far as I'm concerned. And this is the problem I've got with it. I like the idea of the endgame of Rift, because I've always been an endgame player, I've always been a raider. I like the fact that there is so much endgame content going into it, because it obviously says, to me, as an endgame player, Tryon are saying, we want you. You know, we care about what you want in the long term, and we actually understand what it takes to keep people subbed for more than a month. But I don't know if I could be bothered to get there, because all of the content that I've seen so far in the questing has been mind-numbingly boring and so incredibly generic. Have you found as you've gone through that it's gotten any better in that regard?
Well, I've actually leveled in a offbeat way. I've not really gone for the Norman leveling. I've mixed mine up by PvPing a lot, by handing in a lot of the artifacts, and just generally messing around. I mean, I'm level 25 on my main, and I've not even left Free March yet. You know, I've not gone to the next area, and most of the quests I ended up completing were great. And it's a case of, the quests in Free March, they are a little boring for some of them. They are the generic, go here, do this, go here, kill these, take this item there quests. But one of the things that they do throughout the leveling process is they give you this fantastic story arc, and they also give you this wonderful storyline in one of the quest chains, which you won't have seen in your video, but it's called the Saga of the Endless. And they're quests that they've basically designed around players having to help each other and not the game. There are no quest helps in this chain at all. There are for, I think, 2 or 3 of them, because otherwise it would be a bit unfair. but basically it's go and find this NPC, he's in this zone. That's it. You know, they don't point you to where the NPC is. So,
well, surely that's only going to matter for as long as it takes for rifthead.com to be launched.
Yeah, unless you're the kind of player that doesn't want to use those or wants to, you know, do it yourself or do it with your guild. But it's the fact that it's there that they're giving players the option to do that. There's puzzles in each zone as well that you can either try and solve yourself or you can go and look at, you know, Rifthead. They're still just, the options are there. They're trying to mix it up. They're keeping it similar enough because all MMOs have to follow the same principles when it comes to quests. You can only do so many variations, and they've all been done. But they're mixing it up. They've got puzzles in each zone. They've got chests in each zone that are unique that you can go and get good items from, rather than the crappy greens that you get in WoW or EverQuest. You know, you've got these story quests that take you through each zone and through the instances. They really are focusing on the story in the game. So, leveling isn't something that they're focusing on in terms of it, you know, in WoW, the leveling was, you know, you see the zones, we're putting a big focus on leveling. Rift has gone, okay, the big focus is on the end game and everything you see there, but we're not going to neglect your quests. We're not going to make it Final Fantasy. You're not going to grind out 2,000 of these mobs to get the next level. But you do have to kind of grin and bear it in some points where the quests are generic in terms of MMOs.
Yeah. I don't really know if I can, if I'll be totally honest with you. I think I've lost all enthusiasm for hotkey MMOs just because it's been ground out of me over the course of 6 years. And it's kind of unfortunate because there are things that I like about Rift that I have seen, and as far as WoW clones go, I think so far, from what I've seen and from what I've heard from you and from other people, it's probably the best one to come out thus far. I mean, Warhammer had some nice deviations, but the actual systems behind Warhammer were not very good. Like the combat in Warhammer, certainly in the first couple of months, I don't know if it's improved, it was sluggish, it was laggy, it felt non-responsive. I had similar problems with other games, Vanguard, for instance, prime example of a game that totally screwed that up. But I think that they've done really well in terms of cloning the game, and they may draw some people in, certainly, particularly with this announcement that just happened about an hour ago. It was actually posted on Eurogamer to the surprise and ire of many people, myself included, that Blizzard are not going to bother launching Firelands in patch 4.1. So all that's going to happen in patch 4.1, their first major content patch, is they're going to rehash 2 dungeons we've done 500 times before. You know what? I feel a little cheated by that. And I don't know, I think that the environment right now is so full of disillusion, which is a real shame because Cataclysm launched with such hope and such positivity because it was good. It really was, and it still is. But Blizzard, they're going back to their old tricks from Wrath of the Lich King, and that's the worst thing about it. I thought and I hope that they left that behind them, but it just doesn't seem like they have. But still, I don't know if I've got the patience for it, if I'm honest. It looks good. Maybe I can grin and bear it, maybe. How long would you say that it really takes to actually get to the end game if you really go balls to the wall on it?
Well, we've got level 50s on our server already, and we've got people in our guild who are level 40, high 40s. They've been sleeping regular hours and not really, chugging the Red Bull and sitting up and grinding 28 hours a day. But me, for example, I've gone a lot slower. I'm not trying to rush to the end game just because I won't be able to do it for a while anyway. So I've really taken my time and enjoyed the lower levels in actual live servers. And I'm 25 now, as I said earlier. But I don't feel like I've actually, done a lot of grinding. I've basically just messed around, done some PvP, done the quests, done the storylines, and I'm 25. I detest leveling as much as you remember from the recruiter friend that we did in WoW. But it doesn't seem to actually, I'm not focusing on it. I don't really notice it's happening. It's more a case of, oh well, I've just leveled. Where did that come from, kind of thing. As long as you put it out of your mind and you don't really try and focus on the grind, it will just happen from you doing things in the game. Pretty much everything gives you XP.
Yeah. Okay. Right, well, I think that sort of rounds it up, really, if I'm totally honest. I think you've answered all of the questions that I want, and no doubt people have sort of made a conclusion at the end from that. Personally, I don't think it's a game that I'm going to be playing, right? I've got a 6-month press account, so I might dip into it every now and again. I don't expect it to become a main game for me, because everything that I've experienced up to this point and heard about it is that the combat system and the way that the hotkeys work and everything is just so much like World of Warcraft that I don't think I could stomach it. And maybe that's the other side of the coin when you're trying to draw in WoW players, that you also have a contingent of WoW players like myself who have done so much within World of Warcraft that the last thing they want is to do an experience that is almost identical to it. They want something completely different, which is why, you know, I'm interested in games like Black Prophecy and Vindictus, and I'm still playing DC Universe because it's sufficiently different. The combat system is sufficiently different. So I suppose you're the other side of that coin, whereby you've played an awful lot of WoW and you were just looking for something that's WoW but a bit better in the respects and the aspects that you personally enjoy. Would that be kind of accurate?
Well, yeah, but one of the things that will hold you in that is the guild quests. I mean, you're a very lone wolf in your game style. That's why you like Call of Duty so much in your spare time. But it's a case of the people in Rift will be one of the things that ties someone like you to Rift. You may think that the leveling process is boring and you'd rather drive nails through your eyes, but there are guild quests that you can do, and they give you guild perks, same as in WoW. But the guild quests are things like kill X number of players, close X number of rifts, kill X number of dungeon bosses. They are things that you do as a guild. So the social aspect is more there, the community aspect of the guild. So you would jump in with friends and mess around and, finish off a quest. And you'll gain your levels doing that, and then you may log out again. So you can log on, do a few hours, help out with the guild quest, and then disappear again. Rather than log on, do your own solo quests, hate everyone, and log off.
Yeah, no kidding. That makes sense. That's what tied me to WoW in the first place. I quit so many times as I was leveling up, and the only reason I stayed there was because of the guild, so I suppose it's a good job that it's there. Okay, folks, that was our Rift presentation. I don't really expect to do any more videos on it. It might happen, but it seems fairly unlikely. I think that's pretty much rounded up everything. I'd like to thank Dave, aka Fear the Flames, for coming along and doing this, so thanks a lot for that. Very much appreciated, and no doubt I will see you back on Vent at some point. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Headed for a tear.
Hurry! Where are your gods now, Guardian?
I wasn't chosen for my fate. No!
Life Rift!
Ancestor souls, your strength is mine!
The gods know the score, Defiant. Now, so do you.